On today's show, the regular season is here for the Cavs. I repeat, the regular season has arrived. This is not a drill. It's time for the first regular season Locked On Cavs of the year right here.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name's Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my new Substack, The Inside Shot, 92.3 The Fan, Cleveland Magazine, a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating, leave a nice review. Make sure you're subscribed. The regular season is here. There's a lot to talk about every single game, every single day. Games are starting tonight in Toronto. I can't wait to talk about that on tomorrow's show. But make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Cavs podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. Also, check us out on YouTube. If you're watching this video right now, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show, of course, is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. The Cavs are in action tonight in Toronto. Game number 1 of the 2024-2025 regular season for the Cavs. I'm so excited. I can't wait to watch this basketball team under Kenny Atkinson for the first time in a game that matters in the standings. I know we got, our 4 preseason games that we can all look back on very fondly, but those don't matter. Tonight does. Super excited for that. So what I want to do on today's show, I want to dive into some predictions because this is a long season. None of us really know how this is going to go. I've got, a strong feel on some things. Other things I'm a little unsure of. But I want to go off of what I think is going to happen this season. I kind of want to just put everything out there that I can as far as the 2024-2025 season for the Cavs go. So the place that I want to start is with Evan Mobley. My prediction for Evan Mobley for the 2024-2025 season for the Cavs, he is going to make his first All-Star team, and he is going to be somebody that is mentioned. I don't think he will make it, but he is mentioned, and he does receive votes to be on the All-NBA team at the end of the year. He's not going to make third team. I don't think he'll get to that level this year, but I think he gets votes. I think what we're going to see from Evan is what we have expected Evan to be capable of for the first 3 years of his career on the offensive end. I don't think much, if anything, is going to change about who he is defensively, right? Like, he's a really good defender. We know that. That's not something that I think Kenny Atkinson's going to be able to improve upon. It's not something I think needs to be improved upon. But I think what we're going to see from Evan Mobley, particularly on the offensive end of the floor, is going to drive a ton of success for him individually, and it's going to drive a ton of success for the Cleveland Cavaliers this year. Let's think about what we've seen so far from Evan just during the preseason, right? Where he's been more aggressive. You think back to that first preseason game when he was attacking, and he was able to get to the basket. He scored 19 points in like 18 minutes, which, yes, it's preseason. It doesn't count. But the fact that he was aggressive and played with a sense of urgency that I think a lot of Cavs fans and people that watch this team every single night, like myself, wanted to see from him more consistently. I think that is the next step in his game offensively. I think that the three-point shooting stuff will be part of it, but I don't think that is the biggest part of it. I think the urgency and I think the aggressiveness is the biggest part of it for Evan Mobley. I think we're going to see that a ton this year. I think he's going to take that leap to where coming into this season, people are able to, I think, question whether or not he deserved the contract extension that he got this summer. After this year, I think Evan Mobley's contract extension is going to look like a no-brainer. It's going to look like something that, of course, the Cavs gave him that amount of money. Why wouldn't they give a player of his caliber that amount of money? That's how good I expect Evan Mobley to be on offense this year. I think he's going to be somebody that goes from averaging, I think he was like 16 maybe 9, in between 9 and 10 and 3 last year to 23, 10 and 5. I think that's what his offensive game is going to look like. He's going to look like, to me, I think in the ideal world for Evan Mobley, he's going to look like what Giannis looked like the first year Giannis made an all-star team in the Eastern Conference. Now, I don't know if his counting stats will be quite as good, where he averaged that year 23, 10, and 5. I don't know if Evan's counting stats are going to quite get to that, because the number one option on this team, I'm going to talk about Donovan Mitchell coming up in a little bit, but Donovan Mitchell is still going to be somebody that dominates the basketball, that is the best player on this team. But Evan Mobley is going to take, I think, a lot of that load off of Donovan Mitchell's shoulders. I think he's going to have a fantastic year. I think at the end of this year, aside from the contractual stuff that I already brought up, we're going to look back and say, wow, Kenny Atkinson was the best thing that happened to Evan Mobley's career. That is what I think we're going to be saying. I think Evan's going to make an all-star team. I feel very strongly about that. I think he will be a first-time all-star, and I don't think that this is something that we look at and say, oh, you know what? It was nice Evan Mobley made an all-star team. But I don't know that I necessarily expect him to be back next year. No. Evan Mobley is going to come out this year, make the all-star team, and look like somebody who is a perennial all-star in the future. Going along with that, another prediction I have, the Cavs are going to have 2 all-stars, because I mentioned, obviously, already, I think Evan Mobley is going to be there. Donovan Mitchell, to me, that guy's a no-doubt all-star. He is a perennial all-star. If he's healthy, he's starting the all-star game. Like, I have very few questions about that. That's just who that guy is. So I think that the Cavs will have 2 all-stars. Evan Mobley is going to be one of them. Because of how good Evan Mobley is, and this is maybe, I don't think this is bold. I think a lot of Cavs fans probably agree with me on this. I don't understand the number FanDuel has the Cavs at 48.5 for their win total. I really don't. But my biggest prediction with the Cavs as a team, I think that the Cavaliers are going to win 53 games, and I think they're going to finish in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference. So if you look at the state of the East right now, and Boston looked awesome last night, the New York Knicks did not look awesome last night. There needs to be more conversation about Mikal Bridges' jump shot, because that is ugly. But I think that between Boston's going to finish first. I feel very strongly about that. But then you've got 4 teams for 3 spots between the Cavs, New York, Philly, and Milwaukee. 2 of those teams are going to have something go wrong. One of those teams is going to be better than the Cavs. I don't know how that's going to shake out between the 3. I have my guess that New York is still going to finish ahead of the Cavs. Something's going to go wrong with Boston and Philly. And the Cavs are going to be really good. They are. I think that the Cavs have become one of the most overlooked teams in the NBA because they didn't have an offseason that had a lot of flash. They kept everything together. They brought a lot of continuity back. But I think that the addition of Kenny Atkinson as head coach, I think the step forward that Evan Mobley is going to take on offense this year, which I think is going to be a really big step forward, I think those things are going to push the Cavs to another level in the regular season. And the other thing to keep in mind here, the Cavs are a team that the regular season still matters for them. They still have something to prove in the regular season. They're still a young team, especially, if you look at the rest of the top of the Eastern Conference. Like, if you want to include Orlando in that bunch, Orlando's probably younger than the Cavs on average age. But the Cavs are younger than Philly. They're younger than Milwaukee. They're younger than New York. The Cavs are a young team. They have a lot to prove in the regular season. I think that if they stay healthy, I really believe the Cavs are going to be a regular season wins machine. I think that we're going to see them win 53 games. I can see them winning as many as 56 games. But I think that this is a 50-win team. I would be very surprised. I think a lot of things would have to go wrong for them not to win 50 games or more this season. I don't anticipate those things going wrong. I think Evan Mobley is going to be awesome. I think Donovan Mitchell is going to be awesome. I'm going to talk about him coming up in a little bit. I think Darius Garland is going to have a big bounce back from last year. And I think that the health for the Cavs, which was a gigantic issue last year, isn't going to be as big of an issue this year for this team despite the fact that Max Strus is already going to miss the first 6 weeks of the season. But I don't think that the core four is going to deal with the injury issues that the core four dealt with last year. When you add all of those things together, Evan Mobley's jump, Kenny Atkinson's arrival, Donovan Mitchell being Donovan Mitchell, to me, that adds up to 50-plus wins. I think that is a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. I really do. Now, what does that mean for playoffs? How do I think that's going to go? Playoffs? Talking about playoffs? Yeah, we're going to do that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. I tell you about FanDuel all the time because FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, as the season is starting, FanDuel wants to hook you up because when you make your first $5 bet with FanDuel, you're going to be taking home $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's right. $5 bet on FanDuel, your first one, and you get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. We've got a line for the regular season opener tonight in Toronto. The Cavs on the road against the Raptors. I don't think the Raptors are going to be all that good. I think FanDuel agrees with me. As I record this, very late Tuesday night, the Cleveland Cavaliers are 6-point favorites over the Toronto Raptors on the road. That's a pretty big road favorite, especially to open up the season. You have to think, even if the Raptors aren't going to be good, there are some good fans in Toronto. They're going to play hard. Scotty Barnes is a very good basketball player, a guy that I asked a few guys around the Cavs about on Tuesday. I think the Cavs are going to win the game, but on opening night, I'm not so sure that it's going to be a blowout. I don't know that 6. I liked it at 5.5, but 6 might be the area where I start to think, I don't know. I might want to stay away from this. Again, I think the Cavs win, but I don't know that they're going to win by 7. That's a big spread to cover on opening night on the road. I will say, FanDuel's got confidence in the Cavs. At least tonight they do. Maybe not for the full season. Again, I don't love where that win total's at, but they've got confidence in the Cavs on opening night. So if you've got confidence in the Cavs on opening night, create an account with FanDuel, place your first $5 bet, and you can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Just head on over to FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com, and you can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet with FanDuel. That's FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So my next prediction for the Cleveland Cavaliers, we're going to look all the way past this regular season that I've been talking about so far that I'm so excited to get started tonight. I'm looking all past that. We're not even talking about the next 82 games that the Cavs are going to play. We're going straight to the playoffs. I think that this Cleveland Cavaliers team, as I mentioned before, I believe that they're going to be the 3 seed in the East. I think they're going to win 53 games. I think they will lose in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Boston Celtics. I'm not sure exactly what their playoff picture is going to be. I very much could see another matchup with the Orlando Magic in the first round. I think what last year's 4-5 matchup could very easily be next spring's 3-6 matchup. Maybe it's the Pacers, but I think the Cavs will win that series. And then I think they're going to get the Knicks in the second round, and they will avenge that loss they had in the 2023 NBA playoffs. I think the Cavs will be in the Eastern Conference Finals this year. They're going to go on a run in the postseason. I think Boston is going to be too good. I think the Celtics are still the best team in basketball. Obviously, we have a long way to go before we even can legitimately think about what I'm talking about right now. But I think that the Celtics are probably the one team in the East the Cavs can't beat. But by getting the 3 seed, something they could have done last year, by getting the 3 seed, the Cavs have the ability to avoid the Boston Celtics until the conference finals. I think that conference finals go 6 games, but I think ultimately Boston is the better team now and will be the better team when, mid to late May rolls around. But I think that would be considered to be a success for the Cavs. I think that would be a successful postseason run if they are able to get to the conference finals. And then we start talking about finals or bust this time next year for the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's how I think this postseason is going to go. Obviously, that is a very long time before we're going to get there, but that's what I think is going to happen. Why do I have that much confidence in this Cavs team? Well, I've already talked about Evan Mobley. I need to talk about Donovan Mitchell now because my prediction for him is that Donovan Mitchell will be on MVP ballots again this season. Think back to his first year in Cleveland, just how good he was. He was, without question, an MVP caliber player. He wasn't a guy that was ever a threat to win the award, but he was on a ton of ballots that year. He ended up finishing 6th in MVP voting. I think it is incredibly possible that Donovan Mitchell finishes somewhere between 6 and 8 again in MVP voting. I think that right now, especially as we get some of these, preseason player lists that are unveiled by the various outlets that cover basketball, I think Donovan Mitchell is becoming underrated as a basketball player. We are routinely seeing him ranked between 15, and I think TNT had him all the way down at 23 because Charles Barkley somehow ranked Donovan Mitchell as the 43rd best player in basketball behind players like Naz Reid, who I like Naz Reid a lot, but if you can pick, you're taking Donovan Mitchell every time. And that's not a shot at Naz Reid, but come on, what are we doing here? So we are seeing Donovan Mitchell, I think, underrated for what he is as a basketball player. When he has been healthy, he has been a top 10 player in basketball in a Cavs uniform. He's been absolutely fantastic. I mentioned that he finished 6th in MVP voting his first year in Cleveland. Last year, I don't know that he would have been where he would have finished in that voting if he would have gotten votes, but he would have been at least on the top 2 All-NBA teams. And if you finish first or second team All-NBA, I'm inclined to believe that you are a top 10 player, especially now because those ballots are positionless. It's not as if, you can have 8 really good wings and only 4 spots for them, and 4 guards get the nod as top 2, even though they might not be as good as the wings. No, I think Donovan Mitchell would have been a second team All-NBA player last year. He was that good, but he didn't play enough games. Playing only 55 games is really what hurt him there. That's the reason why he didn't get the honors that he deserves. That's the reason why I believe we're looking at this guy. We're talking about this guy, at least nationally, not here locally, but nationally. We're talking about him as somebody who's not a top 10 player in basketball. When the reality of this situation is, since he has been in Cleveland, he's been one of the 10 best players in basketball. Now, he needs to do it in the postseason. And we saw flashes of it being done in the postseason last year, where he had that 50-point game against Orlando in the first round, where I thought he was awesome against Boston before he left with that calf injury. He needs to do it in the postseason if the Cavs are going to go on the run that I think they're capable of going on. But I think he's going to have another terrific regular season for the Cavaliers. I do. I don't know that he's going to have 13 40-point games the way he did in his first season in Cleveland, but he's going to be very impactful. I don't think the load he's going to have to carry will be as big because of the emergence of a more aggressive and urgently playing Evan Mobley. But I think that Donovan Mitchell is going to once again look like a superstar. And once again, Donovan Mitchell will earn MVP votes the same way he did in his first year with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, for Donovan Mitchell's backcourt mate and Darius Garland, I don't think he's going to be an all-star again. He was an all-star the year before Donovan arrived in Cleveland. The first year those two played together, I thought it went very well. Last season, it did not go well. Not in the slightest. Darius Garland had a nightmare of a season. I expect him to be much better than he was last year, but I do not think that Darius Garland is going to be an all-star this year. I don't. I think he'll be better. I think he will be able to sort of re-cement himself as one of the better young point guards in the league, even though he is quietly a veteran in the NBA now, where this is his 6th season. I think he will be back as a player that is really fun to watch, that is really good, but I don't think he's someone that's going to be an all-star. I'm not sure he's going to be somebody that gets all-star consideration. And part of that, I think, is because of the situation he's in. If you look at things right now, I mentioned Evan Mobley being an all-star. I mentioned Donovan Mitchell, who is a perennial all-star. Donovan Mitchell in particular, where you have a player in the backcourt that is a perennial all-star, it is really, really difficult to have 2 players that essentially play the same position on the same team, both make an all-star team. It's a really challenging thing to do. I don't think that's going to be something that's possible for the Cavaliers this season. I don't. But I do think Darius Garland will be much, much better than he was last year. And I don't think that's going to be good enough to be an all-star, but I think it's good enough for the Cavs to get to where they want to go. The Cavs do have, I think, a trade they will be making this season. I don't know what that trade's going to be, but I'm going to talk about what it might look like next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is my go-to ticket marketplace. Game Time should be your go-to ticket marketplace. Unfortunately, there are no more baseball games being played at Progressive Field. I'm sad about it. If you're a Cleveland fan, you're probably sad about it too. But now there are basketball games to go to at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. And if you want to go watch the Cleveland Cavaliers play, I don't know, maybe the Detroit Pistons, you want to say hi to JB Bickerstaff as he returns to town. Game Time is the place to go if you want to be in the building opening night, the home opener, Cavs, Pistons. If you want to be there, Game Time is the place to go. And one of the things I love about Game Time too, if you're interested in going to a game like that, you want to know what you're going to be paying up front. So what you do with Game Time, toggle on that all-in pricing feature, and then you won't be surprised at the last minute with taxes and fees. That is, to me, one of the most frustrating parts of the ticket buying experience is thinking I have one price, and then at the last minute, that price goes way up. Not with Game Time. They're going to be upfront with you with what you are going to pay. Another thing they love, or they do that I love, I should say, is they will show me exactly what my view of the court, or during baseball season, home plate, pitcher's mound, center field, they will show me what that's going to look like in the app. You just go to your seat and you can click in, see exactly what your view of the playing surface will be. Game Time does that. And I think it makes for an outstanding ticket buying experience. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can check out the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave a very nice review as well. Make sure you're subscribed because I'm going to be talking about the Cavs all the time. The goal is to talk about the Cavs, obviously, every weekday, but I'm hoping to bring episodes after weekend games too, like the Cavs play Friday night. I won't be able to have an episode after Friday night's game against the Pistons, but I'm hoping to have an episode after Saturday night's game against the Washington Wizards. I want to bring you guys a ton of Cavs content because Cavs fans are the best and you guys deserve it. Also, if you're watching the show on YouTube right now, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Like I just mentioned, shows are going to be coming at different times after basketball games. I want you to know when they're coming. I want you to know when those shows are going to be up. So make sure that notification bell is hit, you're subscribed, and hit like for me. That helps me out a ton. That's the way to grow the show. Be a friend, tell a friend about Locked. So the Cavs, I believe, will make a trade this year. I don't know what that trade's going to look like. I think it's a really interesting thing to talk about. As things stand right now, the Cavs are a team that is over the tax. They are a team that if, the books close today, and they don't, they would have to pay the tax. I don't think that this is an organization that wants to pay the tax this year. At some point they will, but I think they want to put that off until next year, because if you look at their books from next year, as of right now, they have 9 players under contract, or maybe it's 11 players under contract, and they are $9 million over or $4 million over the tax already. That means the Cavs are paying the tax next year. When Evan Mobley's contract extension kicks in, Donovan Mitchell's contract extension kicks in, Darius Garland, obviously a very expensive player. Now, Jarrett Allen's contract not kicked in yet. But guys like Max Strus still on the books, and Wade's still on the books. They're going to be expensive. George Niang's still on the books next year. They're going to be expensive. They will be a tax team next year. The year after that, they have even fewer players that are locked in the contracts, and they're already near the tax line. They're going to be paying the tax for the next several years. But what they can do if they avoid paying the tax this year is they can delay having to pay a repeater tax. I think that should be a goal for the Cavs, is to find a way to, one, make a trade that improves this team near the trade deadline. But while you're doing that, that trade also being one that can cut costs a little bit would be a big, big win for Kobe Altman and the rest of this front office. I think that should be the goal. It's a really tough needle to thread. It's a really difficult needle to thread, but I think that should be the goal for this Cavs front office as the season rolls along. Last prediction. I think Jalen Tyson's going to be in the opening night rotation. I don't know how many minutes he's going to play. I think that has a lot to do with Max Strus being injured. But I think that by Christmas, Jalen Tyson will start to be a regular fixture for this team off the bench. I just think he's going to work too hard. You know, every time I'm at Cleveland Clinic Courts for practice or shoot around or whatever, Jalen Tyson, if he's not the last guy to leave the floor, he's one of the last guys to leave the floor. I'm recording this, well, now it is past midnight on Wednesday, but on Tuesday, you know, there were 3 guys left on the floor. Jalen Tyson, JT Thor, Luke Travers. Those were the last 3 guys working. And it's not always JT Thor. It's not always Luke Travers. Not to say anything about those guys' work ethic because I've heard nothing bad about it, but it is always Jalen Tyson. I think that at some point is going to pay off, and he's going to help the Cavs win basketball games this year. I don't know how early that's going to be. I don't know how much he's going to play tonight, if at all, but by Christmas, I think he's going to be in the rotation helping this team out. I do. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Do have a new thing. We're doing newsletters now at Locked On. So every day, if you want the latest news about the Cavaliers and the rest of the NBA delivered right to your email inbox, sign up for our newsletter. The link is in the description of this podcast or this video on YouTube just below if you're watching this right now. Again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure you're subscribed anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review as well. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. One more time. If you're watching this, hit that thumbs up button for me on YouTube. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when the latest Locked On Cavs content is coming your way. And I will be back reacting to opening night tomorrow right here on Locked On Cavs.